Hi there, welcome to another Excel tips video. I am Sumit Bansal and in this video I am going to show you a very cool formula trick. So here I have this data and let's say I want to use the day function. So I would use the day function to get what day number this is, this date here. So I would just select this date and then when I hit enter it gives me this result. But I can also select a range. For example, if I select this entire range, then it gives me a result which is a dynamic array that spills. But see what happens when I do the same thing with this function, which is EOMONTH function. So here I would select this entire range. And now when I use 0, which means I want the end of the month for the selected date, see what happens when I hit enter, it is not going to work. And the reason for this is because EOMONTH function cannot work with a range as an input. It is going to work with a single cell. For example, if I just use B2 and I hit enter, it gives me the result and I can drag it down. But it is not going to work with a range. And when I try and do that, it is going to give me the value error. Now, a little bit of history lesson. These functions, so this function EOMONTH, and there are some more functions like this, they were initially part of the analysis tool pack, which is an add-in in Excel. And then they were introduced into Excel as native built-in Excel functions. And then when dynamic arrays were introduced, these functions still have the programming that they had when they were part of the analysis tool pack, which means that they cannot produce a dynamic array as a result. And this is why you see this value error. However, and here is the trick, you can force these functions to give you a dynamic array as the result. So here, if I come here and I just add a plus sign before the range, and now when I hit enter, it is going to work perfectly. It is going to give me the result. So just adding a plus sign before the range somehow makes this function treat this entire range as an input and then result a dynamic array as the result. You can also use +0. So instead of adding plus before the range, you can come here and add +0 and that is also going to work. So you can choose any of the methods that works for you. Now, this is not the only function with this criteria, with this situation. There are other functions such as these functions. So all of these functions cannot take a range as an input and then give you dynamic array as the result. But if you add plus before the range or you add +0 after the range, this is going to work. Now, one more thing I want to mention is that if you're working with Excel tables, then you don't have to worry about it, because in that case, EOMONTH will easily spill and give you the result, because Excel tables anyway cannot work with spilled ranges. So if you just input one single cell, there is structured reference, it is automatically going to fill. For example, in this case, if I use the day function and I just use this cell, you can see it has used the structured reference already and now it automatically spills. And the same is the case with EOMONTH function. Here, if I just take this cell and then let's say use 0, it spills properly. So there is no issue. If you're working with Excel tables, these functions are going to spill. But if you're working with these functions in normal range and you want to give a range as an input so that it gives you a dynamic array that spills, then you can use a plus sign before the range or can add +0 after the range. That's it in this video. I hope you found this trick useful. Also, if you're liking these videos, please subscribe to this YouTube channel and click on the bell icon so that you never miss out on any new Excel tips video I come up with. Thank you and have a nice day.